You know, it occurs to me while I'm sitting here waiting on my wife to take care of her thing, spending money downtown, which is a good thing. I figured I'd continue to try to build this little endeavor into something that it might be worthwhile. It's kind of come up in the past couple of days, and I think I've written about it. I don't exactly know where, but the lay of rig is a wonderful outline of a generational aspect of improvement with regards to the development of our children. It goes from the great-grandparents to the grandparents to the parents. It's not classes of people, but it is successive generations, and there's really no telling how far apart that is, but the great-grandparents are these people that are kind of living in kind of a primitive fashion, and their children, not really the greatest. They're kind of slow, very basic individuals, still reminiscent of kind of a hunter-gatherer type of style, but when you see these people that accept this divine being into their relationship, into their marriage, into this union of this couple, you see an improvement in their children. They're a little bit better than their parents were. And then when it gets to the grandparents, now they're doing a little bit better. Now they have a small village or whatever, and their living conditions are somewhat improved. They too demonstrate hospitality and generosity and invite this divine being into their home, where he blesses them, and their children do a little bit better than they did. And then the last section is the parents, where they're living in finery. They have nice things. They're doing well for themselves, and they also demonstrate hospitality and generosity by inviting this divine being into their marriage, into this union of this couple, and their children do much better than they do. One goes on to become a king. He learns the runes, and he begins to take steps to be a master and take control of his fate and the things that go on in the world around him, to create the world that he would wish to live in. And he becomes a king by his own hand, so to speak. At that point, he is then accepted and invited to have a seat at the table. When we're talking about Asatru and we're talking about the people that are in it, there are some people that spend so much time staying so busy doing this, doing that, and there's no focus. And then you have other people that come in and they sit there and they just study and they study and they study, and they don't really ever get anything accomplished. And then there's another group of people that are just kind of wandering around, just kind of following here to there, doing this, that, or the other, not really going or doing or anything impressive. But I spoke about it in a podcast that should be released in the next day or two. The vague thoughts that at some point we've got to grab a hold of ideas that are going to cement powerful ideals into our lives, so that not only will our lives be improved, but also the lives of our children. You know, we see people, we work our bodies, we get stronger, we stay in shape, we, halfway kind of stay active with things and develop our bodies. We continue to read and to study and to talk and have discourse, intelligent discourse among each other, so our brains and our minds stay sharp. The emotional and the spiritual aspects of it are where we're somehow kind of lacking. To develop them true bonds of kinship among friends and kindreds and family sometimes requires risk. Some people are not going to be at the same level as we are. Some people are still going to be working through issues that have handicapped them in life. It is up to us to deal well with the man in want and continue to try to set that example. The strength of our ability to do so comes from our willingness to accept that divine into our life, to nourish, to bring to fruition that genetic contract that we have with what we perceive as our gods and to be holy. These are the kind of things that allow the being, the individual, to flourish and create the environment he wishes to live in, instead of simply reacting to what's going on around him and waiting for somebody else to take care of it. There's a lot of wonderful stuff in the lore. There's a lot of wonderful ideas in it. And I see people say, well, that's too heavily Christianized. But then you'll hear them same scholars say, well, the Hittites and the Sumerians had an overpowering influence on the development of the Christianity. So these Aryan cousins influenced this idea that influenced our idea, or which way is it? Which way is the flow going here? So you got to kind of take it into consideration. Are we being disrespectful and not recognizing the idea of what we consider to be holy by these gods and goddesses, and doing our best to emulate that idea in our lives, to give them credit, to give them credence, to develop ourselves to the best of our ability? Or are we using that as a scapegoat to say, well, I really don't need to do that over there. That might be kind of personally challenging, so I'm not really going to pay attention to that because, well, that might have come from some kind of other orthodoxy that, well, I don't really agree with it. You got to ask yourself those kind of questions. And you got to have the courage and the honesty to answer them with as much truth as you can. To really put your heart into it, you've got to feel it. And if you're too busy making an excuse as to why you don't need to accept that divine into your family, into your life, into your everything, how far do you expect to get with this idea, this way of life, this thing we want to call our faith? These are just some things to consider. These are the kind of things that we're going to discuss on this YouTube channel as I begin to get everything situated and make it happen. Yes, I will delve into some of the ideas that are brought forth by some of the books that were written at the turn of the last century and some other older books such as Tacitus. I'm going to talk about those kinds of things because we need to know some of that stuff. We need to know kind of where it is, but we've got to sort the wheat from the chaff so that we can begin to develop and reinvigorate this idea that a lot of people refer to as a folk soul, this idea of this common bond of soul that exists between these tribes of Northern European, this very pan-European ideal. There's a lot to it, but I'm telling you that since I've been doing it, since I've adopted it and enjoyed it, it seems like every day there is something new, something grand to be explored, to be understood, to keep my mind working, to keep me thinking, to keep me growing and developing. Because there have been some times in my life when things weren't so smooth, when things weren't so hunky-dory and everything going okay, and hey, it's wonderful to be me. That's not how it always is. And I know there's a lot of people still dealing with that. If you haven't checked out, I did another podcast called ADHD and Asatru. I found a medical opinion and I thought was kind of pertinent and tied it into the ABN podcast. I think you really like it. abncom.com, the Aesir Broadcasting Network, the podcasts are on there. There's a lot of material on that Facebook page. There's a lot of material on the website. I highly encourage you to visit the website so you can see it all. Facebook is such a limiting platform from which to really put all this forth. YouTube is going to cover some of it. The website's going to cover some of it. And then, of course, the books that I've written are going to cover some of it. You can find them at Amazon. You can buy them from me. And you really can buy them literally around the world. Yep. Well, that's my cue. It's time for me to take off. I appreciate your time, and I hope you share this. Let people know about it. It's going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to develop. And I appreciate your time, and I look forward to, if you're so inclined, reach out and let's talk about some of these things. Let's develop, let's grow, let's work through some of the more troubling aspects of it, and let's act like men. And let's be the women that everyone expects us to be. You know, we want to be the men we need to be, and these women, they want to be the women that they have all been told they need to be and have never been able to figure out how to do it. Some of them have. Some of them have no problem, are very comfortable in their own skin. But I've seen some women that are having true difficulties with what's going on in life, and there seems to be very few places to turn to in Asatru to help these women be who they want to be. Now, yes, this is a live video, and I know someone out there is going to say, did he just say put on a dress? No, that's not what I said. I'm still human, and I got kind of carried away, so please don't take that out of context. Let's just listen to it, and let's work through it together and see if we can do something great. Man, that's a good way to go, Brian. All right. Well, we're going to have fun with it, too. I'm sure there'll be somebody telling me, you're a dumbass, Brian. It's all right. Next. Thank you, guys.